Welcome back guys to your 34th C++ tutorial, and in this lesson I'm going to teach you guys how to use an array in calculations, and it's actually a pretty simple program, definitely useful, definitely something you want to stay tuned for. So let's go ahead and make an array right now. Let's call it tuna. I'm getting tired of using Bucky every time, and let's set the tuna array big enough to hold 5 integer values. Looks good enough. And now let's go ahead and use an array initializer list. Let's go ahead and throw in 20, 54, 76, 832, and whatever this number is right there. So now we created an array called tuna, and it has 5 different elements or 5 different values in it. So now what we want to do is, say our boss came to us or our teacher and he's like, build a program that calculates the sum of all of these elements. So we're saying, alright, the first thing we need is a variable to hold that sum, and by default, since it doesn't have any elements at first, we're going to set it equal to 0. So what we could do is this: sum equals, oh, I tried to type Bucky again, tuna 0 plus tuna. Oh, you know what? I'm getting a bunch of typos, and this is just taking too long. Not very efficient way of doing it, although it would work. So let me go ahead and show you guys a much easier way to use an array in calculation. So instead of all that typing, let's go ahead and make a for loop instead. So now what we need to do is, just like before, find out which array indexes our array is going to need, and just use our for loop to loop through those array indexes. So of course, as always, we need to start at 0 because the first index in every array is 0. Alright, now let's do a little bit of thinking, but not too much. Tuna holds 5 values, so that means the last index in that array is 4. So if you write x is less than 5, what it's going to do is it's going to go from 0 to 4. It's not going to do 5 because 5 is not less than 5. So now when we press x++, we now have a for loop that loops from 0 to 4. So it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are going to be your x values. So what we can do now is just use sum plus equals tuna x. Now what this is going to do is this: the first thing it's going to do, the very first time it runs the loop, is going to say this: alright, x is equal to 0. So add tuna 0, which is 20, to the sum. Now the sum is going to be equal to 20. The next time it's going to be 1. So add tuna 1, which is 54, equal to the sum, which is 20. So now it's going to be 74. So it's going to go through each of these elements one by one and add each value to the value of sum. So let's go ahead and just print out this on the screen. Cout sum end line, and now you can see a better idea of what's going on. So like I said, one by one, the very first time it runs, it's going to add tuna 0 equal to sum. The next time, tuna 1 equal to sum. Tuna 2, tuna 3, tuna 4. So if you add up all of these values right here, you get the value of 1,528. So one last time, what we did is this: we created an array called tuna using an array initializer list that holds 5 integers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what we wanted to do is we wanted to calculate the sum, so we made a variable called sum, and of course by default, since it didn't have any value, we set it equal to 0. Then we made a for loop using the value in here, the variable, to loop through each index of our array. So it started at 0, and since we know this one was tuna 4, that's what we put for here: x is less than 5. And of course we want to go one at a time. We don't want to skip, this one and this one or anything. So then what we did is we looped through each value and added it to the variable sum. And then we just printed out sum on the screen, and that's what we got: 20, 74, 150, 982, 1528. So that's a real simple program in order to use arrays and the array indexes and elements and values and calculations, yada yada yada, all that fun stuff. So now you guys know how to use arrays and calculations. You're ready to move on to my next tutorial, where we're going to be talking, I'm going to teach you guys something else about an array that's actually pretty cool. So don't forget to watch that tutorial. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.